North Korean troops have officially begun to take part in the Ukrainian-Russian war. Recently, it became known that the Russians formed the first North Korean battalion, which was sent to fight in the Kursk region. The Ukrainian military, using a reconnaissance drone, managed to record the movement of Korean troops. As you can see from the video, the Koreans were running through an empty field in huge columns at a great distance from each other to get to the positions of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. The Ukrainians accepted this battle, which took place in the Kursk region near the village of Mala Lokhnya in one of the forest plantations. To do so, North Korean units attacked Ukrainian positions from 5 sides. Despite the fact that corrective artillery fire was opened on their soldiers, they continued to advance on Ukrainian positions. As we know at the moment, a large number of North Korean troops were eliminated. By the way, here is a confirming video filmed by a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone. 23 corpses of North Korean soldiers laid out in a row. I will now explain why they were laid out in this way. The Russians have evacuation teams that take away the bodies so that the real situation of losses is not visible, and in order to take the bodies quickly and load them into a van, the Russians put them in this way. These are the casualties of North Korean soldiers who had not even managed to cross the field to the Ukrainian positions and were killed near the Russian forest planting. Traces of heavy equipment are also clearly visible, and it is likely that the Russians have already evacuated some of the bodies. Another part of the North Korean troops broke through to the Ukrainian positions, and there were constant battles for 2 days. The situation is not yet known. As you can see from the following video, the North Korean military is not yet afraid of FPV drones, nor are they hiding from them, but are only watching. But this is until they realize the threat posed by kamikaze drones. Another offensive by the Russian occupiers using heavy armored vehicles. The Ukrainian military opened fire on the Russians with artillery. Some equipment was damaged and the Russians had to abandon it. One armored personnel carrier managed to break through but was overtaken by a FPV drone. The hit caused the armored personnel carrier to catch fire. The crew of the armored personnel carrier managed to survive and began to take up positions in the forest landing. Other armored vehicles of the Russian occupiers were also destroyed and burned. Ukrainian military starts burning Russian soldiers out of dugouts with Dragon drone. Armored vehicles were also burned to the ground. Then the kamikaze drones attacked buggies and Russian occupiers. Here, a Russian T-90 tank hits a large cluster of anti-tank mines. A strong explosion leaves only metal fragments of the tank. His second number, another Russian tank, falls victim to a Ukrainian Javelin. Russian armored combat vehicle, Akhmat. The action takes place in the Donetsk region. Russian paratroopers are on their way to storm Ukrainian forest landings, but they do not yet suspect that a Ukrainian FPV drone operator has already taken aim at them and is ready to strike. A kamikaze drone hit disrupted the plans of the Russian paratroopers. Their vehicle fell into the first water trench. Another kamikaze drone finally destroys the target. We can clearly see that the armored vehicle is new, but this battle was its last. The transporter catches fire and burns down successfully. The first destroyed armored vehicle is followed by another. He passes the marker of the first burned armored vehicle, but ahead awaits a mined road. A second Akhmat drives up the road where a Russian infantry armored personnel carrier was recently blown up. After this explosion, the Russian military is forced to leave Akhmat and take up positions in the forest landing. A Ukrainian kamikaze drone flew in to completely destroy the vehicle. It burns the combat vehicle. And here's what happened to this Russian armored vehicle earlier. He was blown up by mines in the same place. Here comes the third Russian infantry vehicle, following the exact plan of the Ukrainian military. By the way, here is another Russian armored personnel carrier that was destroyed a day earlier. Meanwhile, the third Akhmat armored vehicle is heading into the trap itself. Right in the middle of the day, the Ukrainian military used a Baba Yaga drone to mine the passage near the first destroyed armored vehicle. A Russian vehicle explodes on landmines, just as the Ukrainian military had planned. Russian paratroopers are forced to take up a forest landing, knowing that they will be hunted by Baba Yaga drones at night. But now, a Ukrainian FPV drone finally burns a Russian armored vehicle. The Russian breakthrough was finally stopped. The Russians were very predictable and suffered heavy losses for it. Another Russian column of armored vehicles heading to storm Ukrainian positions. Ukrainian artillery is shooting at them. Russian occupants are trying to advance even amid heavy artillery fire. One of the armored vehicles was successfully destroyed, but the other convoy continued its movement. Ukrainian artillery continues to fire, but many shells miss their targets. Many misses are due to the fact that Ukrainian artillerymen are located 10 kilometers away from the Russian occupiers, and it is very difficult to hit a moving target from this distance. The shell explodes close to the target, but misses it. The Russian occupiers, realizing that they were under heavy fire, decided to turn around and stop the assault. But then the Ukrainian artillery managed to hit the Russian tank and it exploded. And two more accurate hits on the Russian invaders. Thank you, friends. That's all for today. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with the latest developments. This video was produced by Hustler. See you soon.